you cannot work in silos and say, okay, this is just localization, this is content creation, and that's UX. If everybody's not working together, things are not going to work.
Hello and welcome to the Multilingual Content Podcast, where experts discuss international content management, translation, and global communication. I'm Caterina from Undertow, and today we bring you the second part of our interview with Alfonso Gonzalez Bartolesis, Senior Localization Manager at Cinch. Let's dive in.
Hello, Alfonso. Welcome back once again with us to talk about SEO localization. How are you today?
Hi, Nicola. Hi, Caterina. Everything is going great. Thank you very much for having me here for a second time, which means that I didn't bore you the first one.
Oh, no. It was quite the opposite. It was really interesting. Yeah, that's why I think, there's so much to talk about when we talk about SEO localization that, we felt that it was necessary to do at least another episode. But I'm sure we could do a series on this probably.
There any specific considerations to take into account when you are localizing a website for different languages and cultures?
That's a very good question. Yes, there are so many. Yeah, we could be talking for hours. I think, there are many from a localization point of view, of course, technical point of view. From a localization point of view, we need to understand their culture, the personas to who is our target market in order to build that page or that website or those web pages. So it's not just translating words into another language, but adapting the content, localizing the content, or transcreating the content to make it meaningful for our target market. So in many cases, that will imply from changing images to, for example, something that could be more adequate for in the source language. Something that is adequate in the source language may not be that adequate or may not be that familiar for the target language. Imagine the image of people that you use or the age of people that you are using, because your target market, it may be completely different. Maybe in the source market, it's men, and in the target market, it's women. So that kind of thing. Then another thing that we pay a lot of attention is when you are creating, for example, a web page that talk about products or talk about experiences that you have with your customers, you have to also use, if they allow you to do that, of course, you have to use logos from your customers that resonate in the target market. So the source market, you may be talking about a brand that is very well known in, for example, the US, but non-existent or not known in your target markets. You also have to localize that. And then, of course, there are many things that will impact your website, from SEO localization, where you will have to target the correct keywords for target market, to adding, for example, hyperlinks that could be more meaningful for another, for your target language. So in the source language, you may have links to other pages or to other products that you may not be offering for whatever the reason in your target language. So you must be super careful on that type of things. And then, of course, localization itself. I mean, you need to decide how you talk to your customers. So as we know, in some languages, you have different degrees of formality. So that's something that you need to take into account, and how you need to define first, or your brand and voice guidelines, how you want to be perceived by your target audience. So do you want to be perceived as witty, as, as funny? So you need to be extra careful with those decisions so you don't sound like something you don't want to sound. If you want to be the expert in the target market, then you need to sound like an expert and talk like an expert. And maybe the degree of formality will be higher. And there are many instances that you have to change. For example, on the SEO level, something that you have to do is, for example, the Slack in the URL. You need to adapt it for your target market. You need to adapt the meta description. So all those meta information, metadata that you have inside the page, that will help rank your page better. And in the end, I will also say that the people that are translating the content are well aware of the target culture. So it's not just translating words, but it's understanding how you're writing. And of course, having a process that allows you to review or to improve or to implement other parts in your translation. So you may have a very good translation, but something is missing. Then team or should review the content and maybe add an extra paragraph for your target market, or remove content because it's too long, or maybe using bullet points. Depending on the cultures, we expect things to be explained or shown in different ways. We need to know how our target market expects to receive that information. For some, just an image works very well. For others, it needs to be the image and food where we explain, or a keynote where we explain what we are talking about. For others, it needs to be bullet points that somehow summarize the content that they are going to find when they click on an image or on a CTA or something.
And I actually have a question about this that I think is kind of linked. How does the market maturity connects to this? Like, you have cultural differences on one hand, and the market maturity, like the product that you're selling, maybe in some markets, it's very well-known kind of product, so there's already a need in the market. And some other times it might be that it's kind of a new product, so the market doesn't even know that they might need that product or the service. How does that impact the localization from an SEO point of view, especially?
Yeah, it may change things completely. So actually, sometimes even you won't even localize. You may create content from scratch in the target language because maybe it doesn't make sense to localize, or at least to localize the whole content. So if the source market, the source language market is way more mature than your target language, probably on an SEO level, you are going to find keywords that are working very well in the source language, but that they won't help you at all in the target language because they are not known or there are no equivalents. And maybe you have to use foreign words in your target language, and that will make the text more difficult to read. And that has an impact also, as you can imagine, in voice devices if you are looking for voice things and stuff like that. So that I would say that that's something very important on SEO level, that you need to be extra careful and you need to choose if that's the right equivalence. Then you may need to add links, for example, that support or somehow that explain more in depth in your target language, that explain more in depth your product. So maybe those links do not exist in the source language because it's a well-known product or service, but in your target language, you may need to add them. And even sometimes for legal reasons, you need to add some hyperlinks to some legal notes that explain people how to use this or that, and maybe that's not needed in your source language. And then not only adding those hyperlinks to extra information, but maybe creating longer pieces of content that explain a little bit better the things, or adding videos. So yeah, I mean, localization in that case goes beyond the simply translation, but the localization manager or the localization team should be able to propose strategies that could help position better the page and the product in the target market. Again, like adding videos, like extra images, extra links, things like that.
So yeah, so about this in particular, so you put together kind of a brief document, or how do you, this especially if you're working with external partners, how do you basically ensure that the collaboration works and that they have all the information needed and you get the results that you're looking for? What kind of like, do you put together a single document, a brief, you have a call? What how do you approach this usually at Sinch?
Yeah, usually if it's blog post or something like that, well, it's a blog post that usually goes with a brief or at least with detailed information. So it also depends on the systems that you use to translate content. So, but we always add, the persona who's our target market, the keywords that we are using on the source language. So that should be taken into account for the target languages. Also a description of what's our goal with that piece of content. So that's very important. With web pages, we are not that detailed in the sense that there is not usually brief. There is usually a description. In any case, there is with the meta description, meta title and everything, it's somehow more self-explained. However, of course, yes, we give extra information if it's needed.
And if we go into like details of the actual optimization, let's say, of the content for SEO purposes, what are the best strategies for localizing URLs, metadata, and on-page content?
Well, First of all, well, I will say the best strategy is to train your team or the company that you are working with, the language service provider should be trained on how to translate SEO content. Otherwise, it's going to be a complete failure. So I will say, even if this may sound like a joke, I will say that's the most important part. So if they need to know about SEO, at least basics, how SEO works, and then how to localize SEO content. So this may sound like, okay, it's very easy, you just localize. No, because as you know, metadata have certain limitations, constraints, like character limitation. So your meta description should be no longer than 155, 160 characters. Or, for example, something very important in Slags, in the URLs, this last part that defines the name of the piece of content where we are, that needs to use, here we go to linguistics. So this is super amazing. Here you need to use just content words and not function words. So even people who are working on this need to know about linguistics. So it's not just about duplicating.
Yeah, can you give us an example of that? Like a simple example of what you mean by that?
Yeah. So when we talk about content words, we are saying words that carry meaning. So like verb, nouns, adjectives. However, function words like pronouns or prepositions will be left out. So in a page in a web page that the title is Sinch is the best platform for email campaigns. So we will have the Slack will be Sinch platform best email campaigns. And you get rid of all the rest because they do not convey extra meaning, or they do not carry extra meaning. Of course, this doesn't mean that the title of the page needs to be exactly the same as what you write in the Slack. You must be smart, and maybe sometimes you even get rid of some words. In this example, I have given you Sinch is the best platform, blah, blah, blah. Why repeating Sinch? If they are on the Sinch website, you already know that it's Sinch. So I will just add best platform email marketing will be all.
Yeah, you want that keyword to be there. Yeah, that's the keyword that needs to be there. Yeah. And the thing about titles is sometimes maybe people don't realize if they have a meta title that is too long, Google is going to do something about it. Like they cannot rewrite it for you. So you might have crafted like an amazing title, but it's too long for Google. So they just say, well, let's rewrite it and it's shorter. Maybe it's not that great. And all your work basically goes lost. Yeah.
There are other things like, for example, people who are working on this, as you were saying, they need to use the primary keywords in the Slack, in the main title. When we go to main titles, we talk about H1s, and then you have the H2, H3, and so on. The H1 is the main heading, the main title. Usually it coincides with the main title of the web page, and the H2 are the subheadings or subtitles of the pages. So it's very important that people know, or the people working on SEO localization know about, again, SEO localization, about how page is structured, the different parts of a page, where keywords need to go. They need to know also about keyword stuffing. So this is not about just putting a lot of keywords and say, hey, well, yeah, we are going to drive a lot of traffic. No, actually, Google will penalize that. So if you do that, well, Google or any or any search engine. So it's not just about putting a lot of keywords, but creating content that truly speaks about the title, about the idea that you want to develop. So you have to be faithful with what you are and honest with what you are talking about. And that's basically it.
Yeah. And the other thing that I want to talk about a little bit, I want to ask you is about like performance and metrics. Is there any like specific KPI or metrics that you think it's important to measure? Or to put it simply, how would you measure the effectiveness of a SEO campaign, SEO localization campaign?
Yeah, that's another very good question. I will say that depends on the industry where you are. And I'll give an example. We do communications like email marketing, SMS, and we provide infrastructure. So for companies or individuals that want to use that. So in order to measure our success, we could measure depending on also the strategy. So is this, for example, do our customers buy content, buy our products by themselves, or do they need to go through a sales funnel in which they need to talk to someone else, something like that? Well, in our case, success is defined by the traffic we have generated, first of all. So if we are attracting traffic, and also in some cases, the leads that we are generating, but maybe those leads, we don't need to generate leads with our blog post. Maybe that's not our goal. So the goal of each piece of content that you want to rank needs to be defined beforehand. So you cannot expect to sell more just because you are creating content or localizing your website. So you need to define what you want to achieve. So with a web page, maybe you just want to generate organic traffic. That means traffic that you don't pay for with ads. And so if you're generating more traffic, that's a sign of success. In some other cases, it will be leads. Leads is the prospect customers, people who are willing to buy your product or services. And in other cases, it could be sales. In this case, for example, I'll quote Miguel Sepúlveda from SEO Localization. He talked about how do they measure the return on investment in the video game industry? Well, for example, with inside sales. Inside the game, there are things that you sell, and thanks to localization, that can go up or down. Of course, if it's very well localized, or it makes people feel like, oh, I need to buy this thing. Well, that's one way to know if localization is working for the target market. So again, it will depend on in the industry in which your company is, and then on the different goals you set for each piece of content. So not all piece of content need to bring you more traffic or more sales or more leads. Depends on the goal of that piece of content.
Yeah, so basically it depends as well. And if I understand correctly, is basically as well the positioning within the funnel that you're targeting with that piece of content. If it's like an awareness stage, obviously it's unrealistic, especially in a B2B scenario, to expect people to convert just because they saw one blog post from your company. Say, yeah, I'll just sign up right away. It's just starting that journey that will eventually take them to the end of the sales cycle. Yeah,
absolutely. Is what you are saying. I didn't want to go into funnels to not to complicate the thing very much. But yeah, in the end, we need to think of a customer makes a journey in our website. So it's defined as the customer journey or the funnel. The funnel, the idea, it's like, okay, first you get to know the brand or the product, then you become more interested, then more willing to pay. So there are different stages. In each of these stages, you can provide different content to your customer and different ways to attract them to the different parts of the funnel. So yeah, that's basic.
And the other thing is, I guess, like when it's from SEO point of view, you can see if you're targeting a specific keyword, you can see how you're ranking with that. And how does it look compared to the competition, maybe?
Yeah, that for example, for us is very important. Even that will be my manager who is more in charge of that. So on the content side, we are always tracking how our content is performing. And actually, that's a very important part of the content team, because they need to revamp content in order to revamp, meaning like to update content in order to keep our content in the first positions, or to make it go to the first position. That meaning that more people read it. So revamping means, for example, maybe things have changed or our market has become more mature or less mature. So you have to update the content, and you probably will have to change some keywords or add some more content or remove some content that became updated. That's a continuous job that you have to do if you really want your content to perform high. So that's a very important part that we didn't mention before. So when we talk about SEO localization, it's not something that is going to be done just once. I mean, you can do it once and you forget about it. But you should keep track of what you have created and then be constantly monitoring how that content is performing every month, the amount of traffic it brings. Some content will be seasonal. For example, if we launch seasonal campaigns, like imagine Black Friday or Christmas templates, that's of course seasonal. I don't think you will have a lot of people looking for Christmas templates in summer, but everything may have. Or maybe in the South Hemisphere, yes. But in the North Hemisphere, that won't be the case. But yeah, then you have to think of that way when you are translating or creating content. This is not about just translating it once, but you need to monitor, track where things are, what things are working or not, and then revamp, retranslate, things like that. So this is a continuous process.
All right. So there is anything else that you would like to add?
Yes. Now, yes, of course. Another thing that I find very important is, we could talk about UX, the user experience. Yeah, I'm not an expert, but I have read something on that and I have done something myself. but I do not consider myself an expert. But UX is very important for of course, the user experience of our customers, how they find the information, the CTAs, the call to actions, everything. I mean, customer journey, when they click here, what they are going to see, if it's a drop-down menu. This is all, and that's another story, and we could be here talking for hours.
We can do another episode about that, yeah. Definitely, we will definitely talk about UX localization. I can tell you that, yeah. And it does affect, it might affect as well, like even indirectly the SEO as well. Yeah, because if you have people, they cannot find anything on the webpage, they're going to leave, and that's going to actually affect badly, and et cetera, et cetera.
Absolutely. That has a huge impact on everything we do. So what I wanted to say is you cannot work in silos and say, okay, this is just localization, this is content creation, and as you expect. If everybody's not working together, things are not going to work as they should. So, and another thing that is important apart from these UX things are, for example, translation management systems and CAT tools. So you need to choose one that fulfills your needs and the other team's needs. So you need to integrate them with your content management systems, with other systems that you use. For example, design systems could be Sketch or Figma or InDesign or whatever they are using. That will also have a big impact on pricing, on the final price of your translations, on the delivery dates that you can set for a given job request. So that's very, very important. So
the translation platforms can help eliminate a lot of let's say admin, like copy pasting, moving files around, sending emails. Yeah,
absolutely. And then as of today, not many of them are, or I will say none of them yet. I know that some of them are making some progress, but none of them is yet ready to integrate SEO localization with the traditional grid that they have with segments and things like that. So that's something that also needs to be taken into account. So there will be some manual work as of today. After you have translated some content, you will have to do some manual things because the tools in the market do not offer the best solutions for SEO localization.
Thank you very much, Alfonso.
Absolutely, of course.
Oh, yeah, thanks. Yeah, that was really, really insightful. Yeah, as I said at the beginning, we could probably have 100 episodes on this, and we never be over. There's so much more. And I'm sure at some point we're going to have you back, definitely, to talk about
we got this
SEO localization in general, or more specifically about SEO. Yeah.
But perfect, fantastic. Yeah, it has been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure for us to have you today. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thanks for joining us today. The Multilingual Content Podcast is powered by Undertow. We help companies translate their content into results. Get in touch if you want to know more. And if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any new episode. See you next time.